Wait a minute, let's see.
Fannie Morgan shuffles through a folder of papers. She's looking for monthly increase notices she unexpectedly received in April.
I think I did. I just seen that.
The petite 64-year-old is on a fixed income after a brain aneurysm left her unable to work. Her spouse, who later passed away, found her when it happened.
I was getting ready to go to church because I had to sing. My deceased husband Phil said that I hollered out, and that's all I remember.
The 2005 incident put her on disability. She now resides at an affordable housing complex, but says the cost of her one-bedroom is rising. Documents show, and her complex confirmed, her rent increased 25% to $916 in just 7 months.
I ain't gonna have 916 at the first. I would have it, but it won't be on the first.
Rafael Bautista of San Diego Tenants United says rent control will cap annual increases to keep people like Morgan in their homes amid the housing affordability crisis.
The only thing that we can do to fight displacement at this moment is implement rent control at 2% in San Diego.
San Diego doesn't have rent control, and it's unclear whether it would impact subsidized housing. But he says the way to get there is Proposition 10. It doesn't implement rent control, but it lifts the Costa-Hawkins law that limits how cities can craft policies. Bautista says Prop 10 will force San Diego officials to act on rent control.
Though we've already been fighting for it for the last 3 years, it'll be more of a pressing item because now they can't say, oh, well, there's Costa-Hawkins that limits it.
But Prop 10 opponents say rent control causes more problems than it solves. That includes Ian Gibson, who spends his days renovating his rental units in Normal Heights.
A lot of painting lately.
He says he lives with his parents while fixing up and selling properties that he hopes will pay off over the long term. The renovations to a studio he's working on will cost him $8,500.
It also had cast iron plumbing that was rotted out.
It'll take more than a year to make that back, even when he bumps rent from $1,350 to $1,900, which he says the market will bear. It's different at his National City complex that had cockroaches and lacked outdoor lighting when he bought it. He says he invested thousands per unit and raised rent there by about $400. He says rent control will stymie improvements like this, and low-income areas in need of investments will remain that way.
What are you getting for that less rent? Well, you're getting an unsafe place to live, and you're getting a place that is not going to be well maintained.
Instead of restricting property managers like him who help improve communities, he proposed increasing housing subsidies so low-wage earners can benefit from the development. He says he'd even contribute to it.
This isn't, oh, we're gonna find one person in the group. We're gonna say landlords. It's the issue with the landlords. You know, this is a larger issue, so everyone needs to contribute.
San Diego County Apartment Association spokeswoman Molly Kirkland argues lifting state rent control limits that exempt properties built after 1995 will exacerbate the housing problem. That's because developers won't want to build new units, and landlords will take existing ones off the market.
We need to stay focused on supply, and the market will naturally work itself out.
She also says rent control brings other regulations besides annual caps. The nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office warned rent control may also impact housing supply and could affect property and income taxes paid by landlords. But it also says housing stability could increase tenants' buying power and therefore sales tax revenue. Studies funded by opposing sides of the rent control debate both found it does provide housing stability. But it causes other issues, from lack of maintenance to lost housing supply. But neither side found enough evidence to determine whether it affects new construction. Kirkland says the Apartment Association will work with tenant advocates to find a real solution if Prop 10 fails.
I'll follow up with you guys after the election.
Heck yeah!
Taryn Mento, KPBS News.